Greetings. Recently I finished painting up a squad of fire warriors and I noted that there's an awful lot left on the sprues, and that got me thinking about what I could possibly do with this bounty of spare parts. So in this video I shall be kit bashing a Cadre Fireblade for the Tau Empire. In my various piles of unfinished boxes I have this Delaque set, probably mispronounced that, which I've used a bit of in the past. These robed figures gave me an idea for a sort of robed samurai kind of vibe for my Fireblade. Okay, I might have been watching too much anime during lockdown, bear with me here. To begin with, I would need to remove one of the upright bodies from the Delaque kit. A few of them are hunched over and they're probably not going to do for this. And construct the leg and torso parts, but keeping the two separate for now. The first adjustment needed would be to shrink the model somewhat. Tau are a lot shorter than the Delaque, it would seem, so to rectify this I'm going to have to make this torso shorter. To do this I will be removing the belt. The buckle doesn't look very Tau anyway, and this area can be covered with some pouches and bits to hide any obvious joint. Taking my knife I carefully removed the belt and cleaned the area out so that it would join nicely. With the belt removed, the respirator tube was looking like it would also have to go, so it was next for the chop. I did most of this with the clippers and then scraped and trimmed with my knife to make the area look like it was never there. After the respirator is gone, I moved on to make room for the arms. I have picked a left hand holding his pulse rifle and the right one pointing ahead of him from the Fire Warrior kit. For these to fit, however, they will need to either trim the shoulders or trim the arms somewhat. In this case, I chose to remove the shoulders as it was a lot easier. These come off rather easily with clippers, and the area can be flattened out with the knife afterwards to ensure a good surface for gluing the arms on later. Now the left one can just be snipped off and cleaned up, as it's mostly hidden by the large shoulder pad that the Tau tend to have. The right one on the other hand would need a little adjusting to look like it was meant to be there and not just tacked on. At the back of the shoulder, one of the armor plates from the torso extends over it, so taking my knife I carefully trimmed away this cut-off plate from where we removed the shoulder and shaped it so that it resembled cloth instead of a metal plate. From here I could turn my attention to the legs. These were again far too tall for our Tau, and although I'm sure there are some tall Tau, I felt it was best to stray on the safe side and keep it similar in height to the Fire Warriors, so those legs would need to be shortened. Taking my saw, I took off about 50mm off the height of the robe there to shrink this guy down to a Tau height before coming in with the clippers and the knife to shape and tidy the new hem of his coat. The plus side to doing it this way is that the feet will not be visible and therefore can be ignored, which saves some time with this build. The height issue sorted out, I can now glue the torso and legs together with some plastic glue, making sure to line up as best as I could with the original pose. To the front of the model, there is a dent where the belt buckle would have gone. To cover this, I took a set of pouches from the Fire Warriors kit and glued it in place over the area. After this, I got a little bit overexcited and I glued a pulse pistol onto his right hip, further covering the joint at the waist, without realising that the datasheet for a Fireblade does not include this particular weapon, which in my mind is a little silly, considering any Fire Warrior can apparently take one at no extra points cost, but the veteran leader guy doesn't get one. Anyway, a bit late now, mine has one. But if you wanted to stay true to the datasheet, it could be left off and some more pouches could be put on just to hide up that joint. Next up, the arms can be added with some plastic glue, adjusting them to a suitable pose, and I also glued him to a base to make it a little bit easier to handle before adding the bonding knife from the Fire Warriors kit onto the back of the model around the waist area. With the bulk of this model finished, I moved on to the head, and this little shield from the Hellstriders of Slaanesh kit I thought would make for a nice futuristic version of those cone-shaped straw hats that anime samurai are fond of wearing. This would need minimal adjustment for this purpose, namely removing the hand from the back of it, which I did with my clippers before flattening the area a little with my knife. For the actual head, I have chosen this shouty one from the Fire Warrior kit, but before it can be attached to the model or the hat, some adjustment will need to be made to both it and the little neck part from the Delaque kit. Taking my clippers and the neck part, I trim the neck part flat on the top before gluing it in place on the body. And then, with my knife, I did similar to the Fire Warrior head. This will mean once we put some glue on there, they will join together quite nicely, whereas before, those necks didn't meet up. Now, if you didn't fancy a futuristic straw hat, you could easily leave this bit here. To add the hat, however, more trimming would need to be done to the head. I used my knife to take the top of the head off, aiming for a nice flat cut just above the face slit, so the hat sits nicely on top of the head. Once that is done, and the hat is sitting nicely, it can be glued into place onto the head, before the head being glued onto the body. To add a couple more details to this model, I've taken another 2 bits from the Fire Warriors kit. The Fireblade model has a marker light, so I've chosen to take one of those and this little ammo or grenade strip. Not sure which one that is. After cleaning them of a surprising amount of mold lines, I could glue the marker light in position on top of his rifle. And then I added the ammo strip to the side of the rifle, giving it a little more bulk and bringing the construction to a close. So, after the usual base and paint, here is my take on a Cadre Fireblade, painted up in my custom set colours. I changed out the base, as I have some of these Necromunda bases lying around, which are the right size, and they help me distinguish nicely between the characters and troops at an easy glance. Not that this guy looks like a Fire Warrior, but you get the gist. At this point, I would like to say a big thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more kit bashes, consider a subscription. With more lockdowns at the moment, I have enough material recorded to last quite a while as I work on my pile of shame. And try to get at least one army ready to play once lockdown is over. I also have a ton of leftover Fire Warrior parts to use up, and I have a good idea for those, eventually. Anyways, stay safe all, and have a good one.